Monster Hunter Wilds, the sixth mainline game in the Monster Hunter series. Of course, plenty of great Monster Hunter games have been sprinkled in here and there, but this is the most recent installment of Monster Hunter. The real question is, should you play it? Well, that answer is sadly a little more complicated than a yes or no. At a quick glance, it could look better. But it's pretty easy to break down why Monster Hunter Wilds is sitting at mixed reviews with a 46% Steam rating, and that is optimization. This game runs terrible on PC and runs okay on consoles, so I heard. I wouldn't know, I've only played on PC. Its system requirements feel skewed, as even with an RTX 480, I still have frame drops and crashes, albeit not as frequent as some of my friends with lower specs, but still unacceptable for a AAA game. Also, problems caused by stupid things that barely any optimization support in the last year. But the next final patch of Monster Hunter Wilds will hopefully fix optimization. Yeah, I understand the mixed reviews as some people can't even play the game if they wanted to, but is the game even good if you can play it? Okay, let me explain. Of course, if you've never heard about Monster Hunter or what you do in it, it's it's right there. It's right there. Yeah. It's in the title. But if I had to break down the gameplay loop for you, you usually start in a village as a hunter, and you accept quests to fight monsters and sometimes do other things. Then once this quest is complete, you use the materials from the monster you've slain or captured to make armor and weapons. Then you go fight stronger monsters and kind of just repeat this process, which could sound boring, but trust me, it's awesome. Every Monster Hunter has this core gameplay loop, but is Wilds gameplay good enough? Well, I enjoyed this game very much. All the weapons and how smooth everything flows feels great. Playing around with your favorite weapon and just vibing, and of course bonking, is awesome. So I would say it really makes you feel like a monster. Stupid. Gameplay very good. Of course, there's other aspects that are lacking that could be argued, such as the auto-pathing taken from the gameplay, or the small amount you actually have to gather, which I feel is slowly becoming not a thing in newer Monster Hunters, as it was in older ones. Personally, I don't mind these things. All I really want to do is fight monsters, but I understand missing those things. So yeah, poor gameplay. Wild still has the base mechanics of most newer Monster Hunters, but as they do with all recent titles, Wilds has their own twist, their own flavor, their own pizzazz. Of course, I'm talking about the 4 new mechanics that have been brought to Wilds. Focus mode, focus attacks, clashes, and offsets. Now, 2 of those things are weapon type dependence, but focus is for everyone. Some better than others, but of course I'll talk about that in a second. Focus mode happens when you hold a button or make a toggle, and it puts you in this aiming mode, which surprisingly feels pretty great and benefits a lot of weapons. For example, something like Greatsword, which in older titles, as soon as you pulled your sword out and charged, you were stuck facing that direction. Of course, in newer titles, you could slightly turn or reposition, but in Wilds, focus attacks are something that happens when you enter focus mode, and while in focus mode, you may see these red spots on a monster. These are caused when a monster has been hit in that spot repeatedly. Then you use your focus attack, boom, monster breaks, sometimes monster topple, and everyone is happy. Yeah, in multiplayer, it's a little chaotic. You see, there are weapons that usually get a huge bonus to focus attacks, like a full gauge, or an instant powerful attack, or a buff that you can only get by perfect blocking. While others, it's just damage, really. So, if you play multiplayer, be a little mindful of your friends. Sharing is caring. Multiple people can hit the same wound if you time it right. The other 2 mechanics is clashes and offsets. Pretty simple stuff. Basically, if you play with a weapon that can block, you can clash. This usually happens when a monster charges at you and this epic push between player and monster happens. Then there's offsets, which is weapons that can't clash unless you're special and can do both. Offsets is a bit more tough, requiring an input during a monster attack. If it's one you can offset, you get this big counter and maybe a follow-up attack. And if it's not, and you still time it right, you get reduced damage and don't get sent flying. Of course, there's some weapons that don't get either, but that's for reasons you will find out if you play. So all in all, I'd say the mechanics are pretty solid, but that could always change with the expansion. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't pay attention to the story. I'm sorry, okay? And I know I should probably go do my research on it since I'm reviewing this game, but I'm not gonna do that. From a didn't read and barely listen, only watching cutscenes when a big monster is on screen, I feel like it boils down to this, which, not gonna lie, could probably be the cause for most Monster Hunter games. Monster gets aggressive because other monster is going where it's not supposed to. Oh no, it turns out that monster's a freak and created and is hungry. Oh, there's a bigger threat and it's doing stuff. Okay, we gotta stop it. I just want to hunt monsters. I don't want to know why I need to. I just want to know what sweet threads I can make out of them. Well, I don't think Wilds is a bad looking game, and man, it has some pretty views and awesome details. I'm also not a graphics matter person. As long as the game is good, it could be ugly or pretty. Peak in point. Wilds to me looks slightly better than World from a graphical point of view, but its colors, unlike World, just didn't pop for me. Wilds kind of looks like the same color wherever you go. Windward Plains looks like a dull orangish yellow. Scarlet Forest is a dull green. Oilwell Basin a dull black with sometimes lava. You get the point. Meanwhile, World had these popping colors, fun to look at, bright, so full of life. So honestly, I would rather a worse looking optimized game than this. Of course, there's some ups, like the views are pretty, monsters look great, and NPCs, ooh, they look pretty good too. But all in all, I think the lack of optimization really makes it feel like a fat L. I feel like Monster Hunter has always had bangers, so music is never a problem. Not saying all tracks are dubs, but it doesn't stop me from having some on my playlist. Most of the sound effects feel good in this. I like how meaty some of the hits sound on the bigger weapons. The ambience is also nice, but we do have two major issues with the audio. Why can cats speak English, and where the fuck is my Monster Hunter language? Wild Zone release had 29 monsters and added 4 more with title updates. Now that's actually 1 less than base world, and even with all the title updates, which are finished now, so we won't get a new monster till the expansion, it's still less than base world with title updates. Now I know that sounds bad, but well, yeah, it sucks. The new monsters are great and all, but I will say once you hit endgame, you'll find yourself fighting the same assholes over and over again. Now, they've done some band-aid fixes like 9-star monsters that aren't apexes, but it still sucks. This game has no Elder Dragons until the most recent title update, which I don't know, feels kind of rough. But up until GOG, I assumed the expansion was going to be like Rise of the Elders. Also, to crack down on the lack of monsters, one of the monsters that counts towards the total, you only fight once. Not to mention the paid content. Yes, you don't need to buy any of it, and it doesn't affect any of your gameplay per se. But have you seen how expensive that shit is? Now, for some of the event quests, it's the same as other games. Although, if you want to complete some of these event quests for all the armor, be prepared to do them like 10 to 15 times. But, and this is a big but, the crossovers, aka the main badass crossover, Final Fantasy XIV, brought us hands down one of the most fun and frustrating fights, Omega. Oh, and I guess Akuma was okay too. But Omega was such a sick fight that I had fun eating dirt and failing that quest over and over again. Also, where the heck is my pit? Is Monster Hunter Wilds worth getting? Sure, if your PC can run it and it's on sale for a good price, but to be honest, unless you're a super fan, I'd say go play any other Monster Hunter game that's come out in the last 10 years. I just want to take this last bit to talk about things I couldn't figure out where to put in the video, so bear with me. Like, I have beef with the Arshan system, as it feels like it takes away from other weapons, which seems kind of bad since other weapons had their own special skills. But the only time you're really going to use them is if you had a niche build. Otherwise, your best weapon most of the time was Arshan. And now with GOG, that's even more so, adding another level to Arshan weapons. As that's a whole nother thing to talk about, as if you want to make more GOG Arshan weapons, you have to hunt GOG, which makes sense. But the problem is that since every weapon wants to make Arshan weapons, and some of them having multiple as playing Elemental, you have to hunt this stupid oiled up lizard a bunch of times, which isn't a problem for the first couple hunts, but when you do it over and over again, it starts to become tedious. But I want to play with other weapons, so you're gonna do it. And of course, another thing that I was bummed about, but this has been somewhat fixed, is on release they didn't have the Gathering Hub, which they have it now, but I'm kind of annoyed as it's still missing some things. Like, I don't understand why they just don't put everything in the Gathering Hub. Granted, this is probably something that's going to be fixed with the expansion, as they did it in Monster Hunter World with Selena. But I just don't understand why I can't trade to the Frog Lady in the hub, or I can't use the Argosy in the hub. I love Monster Hunter, and I can't wait for the next installments of the series, as I'm excited to do that Hell Quest that's coming out the next patch, and even excited for Monster Hunter Stories 3. If there was one takeaway, one main point that I have to make this video is, please stop releasing games that are half-baked with AAA pricing. Could you imagine if Monster Hunter Wilds released properly optimized and how much fun everyone would have had on release? People aren't playing with fucking rectangles on their screens, and you know, people can actually play the fucking game. Instead, the game's been review bombed to hell. I keep ranting, I'm sorry. Anyways, I give Monster Hunter Wilds a out of 10. Hey, thank you so much for watching the video. I'm sure you could tell, but this was my first video I attempted to edit, and boy, is it tough, but a lot of fun. So if you could like and subscribe, that would be awesome. Also, I stream a bunch on Twitch, so come check me out. Link will be in description. I want to do this again. I don't know what game I will review, but I'll figure it out. But okay, see you later, homies.